Good morning, everyone. In the previous class, we have started our root locus problem, and we have completed first three steps. The step one is to locate the poles and zeros. The second step is to draw the root locus on the real axis, and the third step is to calculate the angle of asymptotes and centroids. So these three steps we have completed in the previous class. Now, the remaining steps, that is step number 4, coming to the step number 4. In step 4, we should calculate the break away and break in points. So we should calculate, or we should find the break away and break in points. So both are same. Actually, the process to calculate the break away and break in points are same. Let's see how we can calculate. To calculate these 2 points, we need to have the closed loop transfer function, that is output to the input. So we know g of s, we know h of s. So g of s by 1 plus g of s into h of s here, but our h of s is 1 because our system is unity feedback system. So 1 into g of s will become g of s only. So that's why we have to calculate g of s by 1 plus g of s in order to get the closed loop transfer function. So substitute here the g of s value and here the g of s value and take LCM, and you will get the final characteristic equation of the closed loop transfer function as, see, this is closed loop transfer function. So which is s into s square plus 4s plus 13 plus k. So that is our characteristic equation. So from this characteristic equation, we have to write the k value. So the k value is, so you can take this complete s power polynomial into right hand side, so that we will get the k value as minus s cube minus 4s square minus 13s. Now you have to differentiate this k with respect to s. So this is the procedure to calculate the break even and break in point. First, we need to take the closed loop transfer function and consider the characteristic equation. From the characteristic equation, write the equation for k. So this is the equation for k. Now you have to differentiate this k with respect to s. Now minus s cube means minus 3s square. Here minus 2 into 4, which is 8s. Here minus 13. After differentiating, we'll get minus 3s square minus 8s minus 13. All these three terms having the minus, so take minus coefficient as common. So we have calculated the differentiation, which is dk by ds. Now what should we do? We need to calculate the roots for this k. So in order to calculate the roots for this k, what should we do is we have to equate this dk by ds equation to 0, so that we can calculate the values of roots of s, so that we can substitute and calculate the value of k. So this is a quadratic equation. So we know how to simplify the quadratic equation. Minus b plus or minus b square minus 4ac by 2a. A is 3, b is 8, c is 13. Substitute here, you will get 2 s values. Now the real time to calculate the break away and break in. If you substitute this, here we are having 2 s values, so we have to substitute 1 s value in the k equation. So here we know the k equation. Substitute s as minus 1.33 plus j into 1.6. Substitute this value in this equation and check whether the k value is positive and real or not. You can see that s value is substituted in this equation. If you simplify, the value is not important here. The answer is not required, but the answer is positive value and real value. It has to be positive and real. Then only there is a chance of breakaway or break-in point. If we don't have, if the output of the k or the value of the k is not positive and real, then there is no chance of a breakaway and break-in points. So we have to do the same exercise for all the S values. Here S values are here we are having two S values. So first we have substituted minus 1.33 plus J 1.6, and we have got the K value is not positive and real. In a similar way, now you can substitute S as a minus 1.33 minus J 1.6 and check for the K value, and you will get the same, which is the K value is not real and positive. So for both the S values, the K is not real and positive. That means there is no chance of breakaway and break-in points in the root locus. If we get any of the K positive and real, then there is a chance. But here we have received for both the S values, the K is not positive and not real. So you have to do the same exercise and decide whether the K value is positive and real or not. So that is step number 4. Coming to the step number 5. So step number 5, we have to find the angle of departure and angle of arrival. So what is angle of departure and what is angle of arrival? See, the angle of departure will be calculated for poles. Departure is for poles. Arrival is for zeros. Departure is for poles. Arrival is for zeros. Right? Remember that. And not only that, here this step 5 will be done only for complex poles. This step 5 will be done for complex poles only. If any of the problem, if we don't have any complex poles, then what should we do? Simply in step 5, write a sentence that it's stating that there are no complex poles or zeros. There are no complex poles or zeros. So there is no chance of angle of departure and angle of arrival. Only single statement is enough for step 5. If we don't have complex poles and zeros. But in this problem, we have two complex poles. There are no zeros. So zeros will come only for if zeros are come, then we will calculate angle of arrival, but there are no zeros. So that's why this step 5 is named as angle of departure. So we have to calculate angle of departure, that is for poles only. The formula and the procedure will be the same to calculate angle of departure and arrival. The formula and the procedure will be same, but the name, the word, what we use for poles is a departure, for zeros is arrival, right? So for pole P1 is real pole, so we should not consider pole P1 here. Pole P2 and pole P3 both are complex poles, so we have to calculate two departure angles. So first departure angle is at pole P2, second departure angle is at pole P3. So how we can calculate? So now you can see, if you draw a line from other poles. Now pole P2, we are calculating the angle at pole P2. So from P1 and P3, look at pole P2. What will be the angle that P1 is making with P2? Similarly, what is the angle that P3 is making with this P2? Okay. So you have to calculate that angle. So theta 1 is the angle that P1 is making with P2. Similarly, P3 and P2 are complex conjugate poles, exactly mirror image of P3 is mirror image of P2. That means the angle is 90 degrees. Theta 2 is 90. You can see here, exactly right angle triangle. So theta 2 will be 90, and you should calculate theta 1. So theta 1 will be calculated by the tan inverse of y by x. So here the y is plus 3j and x is 2. We know this, we have marked P2, right? So on the x-axis it is 2, on the y-axis it is 3. So if you substitute in this formula to calculate the angle of departure, so the formula is 180 minus of theta 1 plus theta 2. So this is the formula. Theta 1 is a tan inverse of 3 by 2. So that is 123.7. And theta 2, we know it is right angle triangle. That means it is directly, we can write as 90 degrees. So theta 1 is the angle that pole P1 is making with P2. Theta 2 is the angle that pole P3 is making with P2. So we have to calculate theta 1 and theta 2. Substitute those values. So 180 minus these angles, we will get minus 33.7 degrees as the angle of departure. So this is at pole P2. Similar way, we have to calculate the angle at pole P3. But no need to do the complete procedure. Why? Why? Because P2 and P3 both are mirror images. So here minus 33.7 degrees we have got for P2. So the mirror image of this value will be plus 33.7 degrees. So this will be the angle of departure at P3. So no need to do the all the same procedure for P3. You can write both these poles are complex conjugate poles, or these are mirror images. So that means the answer for P3 will be the minus of P2, which means here we have got minus 33.7 degree. The P3 will be plus 33.7. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the angles, and we need to mark these angles, and we have to draw these angles with a smooth curve. By using hand, we have to draw these angles with a smooth curve. I'll show that in the next slide. So that is step number 5. Coming to the step number 6, we have to calculate the crossing point on the imaginary axis. So this crossing point will help us to plot the step number 5. In order to plot the angle of departure and angle of arrivals, we need to calculate this crossing point on the imaginary axis. Now, how we can calculate? Very easy. We know from the 4th step, we know the characteristic equation of the closed loop system. From the 4th step. Sorry. You can see the step 4. So this is the characteristic equation, right, of the closed loop. Take this characteristic equation, substitute in the place of S, substitute j omega. That's it. Substitute j omega and simplify. You know j square, what is j square, what is j, and all. Simplify, and you will get this equation: minus j omega cube minus 4 omega square plus 13 j omega plus k is equal to 0. So here we are having real terms and imaginary terms. So j terms are imaginary terms, and non-j terms are real terms. Now what you do, equate the imaginary terms to 0 to get the omega value. So here the omega value is plus or minus root 13, which means plus or minus 3.6. And similarly, if you equate the real values equal to 0, we will get the k value. The k value is 52. So what this omega will tell and what this k is, what this k value will tell. So k value will give the maximum point of the stability, maximum limit. So the k above 52, the k value, if we increase the k value more than 52, then the system become unstable. So k 52 value will be the limit for stability of the system. So below 52, the system will be stable. After 52, the system will become unstable. So this k value is the limit to determine the stability. Then what about omega? This omega represents the crossing point on the y-axis. So if we if we plot the root locus, then on the y-axis where it has to be crossed, that point will be given by this omega. And now step 5 will be plotted on the graph sheet using this crossing point. Let's see how it will be. And you can see uh, this is the P2. So at P2 you have to place a protractor, and minus 33 means you have to come down, right? So this is minus 33.7. So this small straight line, and this is plus 3.6j, and this is minus 3.6j, which we have got from step number 6, omega value. So the root locus has to be crossed at this point only, but it has to be started at P2 and P3, because the P2 and P3 are having angle of departure. So take the pencil with this angle, mark a small line, and with smooth curve, draw the line like this. Here also draw a line like this with a smooth curve, with the hand only, not using any scales and all. It has to, the curve has to make an angle of minus 33.7 at P2. So that's why we have taken a small line here for the reference. Okay, so this is how, so this is the root locus, complete root locus on the real axis as well as on the imaginary. So this is how we can plot the root locus for the given system. Okay, thank you.